Marvels opens up this weekend, guys, and here's my quick movie review for it. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I can't believe it. I think I like this movie. Now, I agree that it's not the greatest movie. It's not going to be one of the best in the MCU, but it's nowhere near as terrible as some people will have you believe it. All right, The Marvels. Synopsis reads, Carol Danvers gets her powers entangled with those of Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau, forcing them to work together to save the universe. Now, I watched the trailers for this, and I was kind of like, okay, Captain Marvel 2 is now being transformed into the Marvels, but it's not Captain Marvel 2. It's really, yes, it's about the Marvels. Captain Marvel's just a character in this story. And if you wanted to have a Captain Marvel 2 story, this isn't it. So I think they did it properly by not naming it Captain Marvel 2. It's just, for seeing her second movie out, I think people would have preferred to have seen a Captain Marvel 2. It's kind of hard to do now that you've got Miss Marvel and whatever Monica Rambeau is going to be. Professor Marvel or something. Did they ever name her in the movie? I don't know. I'll tell you this, I like Brie Larson in this movie a lot more than I did in the first movie. I think she's way better than that. And she proves her acting abilities as well. Actually, all of them do. Tiona Paris has a really good moment in the post-credit scene. Iman Vellani, is that how you pronounce that? As Miss Marvel, she's also really great. And recently, we did a Grumpy Man Reacts of all 6 Miss Marvel episodes to the lead up to the Marvels. And now we've gone down the road to the Marvels. The Marvels is here. And I was kind of like, I saw some of the early reactions from people that I trust saying, this is a terrible movie. This is one of the worst MCU movies out there. And I went into it with that kind of mentality, braced for utter kind of just bad movie telling, and it wasn't there. I was like, okay, well, where are these bad jokes? Where's this bad dialogue that I'm waiting to hear? Does it have some silly moments that happen in it? Yes, but it's kind of like, yeah, that happened. The bad guy, played by Zawe Ashton. I liked her as the villain. But yes, they make the egregious mistake of having her just be a one-off villain. Why can't we have her be somebody who grows in the bad guy atmosphere in the MCU movies? Why can't we have that? Marvel has to stop this. They've got to stop having these one-off villains that mean nothing, and not have them come back in some kind of weird MODOK, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania type way. People don't want that, because she did a great job in the fact that anytime that she was on the screen, you were like, I want to know more about her. I want to learn more about her. What's she doing? And she's like, again, one of those villains where you can understand why she's doing what she's doing. And there's the potential there for her to become, like, if you give her more rope to work with, then she'll be up there as one of the better villains of the MCU. But it's kind of like, just like so many other throwaway villains, it's just like, it's a one and done kind of thing, and it sucks. Yeah, this is the part. We see this in the trailers. This is the part of the movie where people will be like, ugh, what are you doing? But I kind of expected weirdness in this type of movie because it is cosmic. So I felt like this almost felt kind of true to what it was all about. The chemistry between the three, Tiona Paris, Brie Larson, and Iman Vellani, it worked. You wanted to see more of that team. But it definitely wasn't Captain Marvel's movie. It was all 3 of them. Now, I said this straight up off the bat too. If you haven't watched Miss Marvel, then you won't know who she is or what that means, right? You won't have that appreciation. Luckily, because I did do my homework, I was caught up to date. And I could totally understand that if you didn't watch WandaVision, you don't know who Tiona Paris is Monica Rambeau, you don't know who Miss Marvel is, this movie didn't do a very good job of explaining to you who they are and what their powers were. They do talk about it. They do say that, oh, I went through a witch's shield and now I've got these powers. They do talk about it, but it doesn't, I don't know if it'll have that kind of like, oh, factor. It'll be kind of like, it feels like an afterthought in the movie. Maybe that's just the way that I perceived it. I'm curious to see what other people are saying about this. We'll take a look at the tomato meter here in a second, but let's get to some of my early rankings for this on the score sheet. Acting, directing, and story are of a possible 2 points each. And overall, I would have to say the acting was serviceable, but because there was no performance in here that made me go, well, actually it did. Between Iman Vellani and Zawe Ashton, I think I would actually give the acting 1.5. Now, I can't give it full points because there's some questionable kind of off-the-cuff kind of MCU slapstickiness going on in there that's kind of like, but it is what it is. Surprisingly high grade for acting. Directing. Nia DaCosta, who did the Candyman reboot. Technically, the movie was well done. Setting up shot compositions and stuff like that. Now, this movie did suffer a bit from the CGI stage effect that's happening. This is happening in a lot of comic book movies and a lot in the MCU, where you can tell, okay, yeah, with this shot, yeah, you would expect that to be on visual effects, that she's not really there. Her face is just slapped on a CGI character. But there's other shots where why you would say, well, why is that background? Why is, like, yeah, like here. Okay, so why can't you go and find a cavern or a cliff face and just photograph that and put that in the background? Why does the background there need to be CG? You can tell that she's just standing on a CGI set here, and there's a lot of that. And does that impact the story? Yes, it does. For me, it felt like it was starting to take me out of it a little bit. That it was kind of like, this movie's a lot of CGI sets, and it's a directing style. I think that they are constrained that they have to do this way. I'm waiting for the one MCU director to come in and say, well, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go out there and we're going to find an actual location. We're going to shoot it, and then we'll use that as a background plate. And we're not going to have the CGI set feeling. We're going to totally get rid of all of that. Story. It's short. It's an hour and 40 minutes, guys. Story is serviceable. I said that it was better than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It was definitely better than Thor: Love and Thunder. It's not as good as Guardians of the Galaxy 3. No, it's not. Story-wise, I do want to see more of what's going on with Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel. Sorry, did I just spoil something there? We'll have to figure it out. And then, because it's a one-off type villain, we're not going to get that much more. That sucks. I don't know. Maybe we still can. It really all depends. I got to figure out what other people are saying. So let's go over to the tomato meter here and take a look at what the buzz is about as of 10:47 here. 61% by critics, 85% by the audience, and that's based on mostly Thursday night previews here, guys. I'm not as high as the audience, and this movie is tracking to not do well at the box office. We've seen that for a couple of weeks here. And one thing here I want to reiterate to you guys is that I was on that bandwagon too. I was like, I don't even know if I really want to watch this movie. It's going to suck anyway. And you've seen other channels out there where, despite the fact that they say that they're not being biased, and they make all these videos that, oh, Captain Marvel sucks. I don't like being preached to about my manhood or anything like that. It's like, get out of here with that. I'm somebody that will give it a fair shake. And I gave the Marvels a fair shake. and I understood what it was trying to do cohesively as its movie and its um, setup. It delivered it, but I totally understand that it's a standard Marvel kind of, here are the good guys, here's the bad guy. The bad guy's going to get defeated. There's going to be a small twist and lead up to something else in the universe, and that's pretty much what you're going to get. Yes, that's what you got with the Marvels, but there's some interesting character pieces in there that I liked, because I wanted to see how Miss Marvel interacts with Captain Marvel. You know, I want to see now that Tiona Paris's Monica Rambeau is working with Nick Fury. How's that all going to work together and stuff? So, as an MCU fan, I think there's a little bit more there to gravitate onto. As casual fans, casual moviegoers, I don't know if there's going to be enough. It'll be a little misplaced. I've seen others describe it. I think Sean Chandler said it best, where it felt like this was a sequel to a movie that we didn't see yet, right? There was a lot of in-between stuff that happens between Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel that I could see that, yes, you felt like there was some storyline that was missing there. That I wish could have been a little bit more focused on. And I think that would have been Captain Marvel 2 if we got a proper Captain Marvel 2. But no, this is the Marvels, guys. It's got a post-credit scene, which is worthwhile sticking around for. Post-credit scene that I saw was worthwhile sticking around for. Let's see what some of the critics are saying over here. San Diego Reader didn't like it. Star Brie Larson seems to be pretty checked out here, almost as checked out as the Jokers, who came up with the idea of once again tapping the Beastie Boys for the soundtrack. Hey, they use a starship, or they're on a spaceship. Let's use Intergalactic. Yeah, the soundtrack, the song choices, and the song choices for the first Captain Marvel movie didn't really work for me either. Was I bothered with the off the cuff kind of thing for Intergalactic? Not really. That didn't. Whatever. ABC News didn't like it. Poised between goofy and god awful and plagued with rewrites and reshoots, the 33rd entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in serious disrepair. The MCU, once the spawner of glories, is stuck in a rut. The time to rethink is now. Well, yeah, they've heard that. I understand that Kevin Feige and the rest, they realize they're in trouble. They've just put out a whole bunch of They've oversaturated the market, and it's cost them, and that's coming back to bite them. So this old regime, that's where all these movies and stuff that were made and shows that were made under that old banner are going to get dialed back now. But we've got to finish this run out of all of this. Marvels is in there, Echo is in there, Loki, whatever, this season 2 was part of all this, and they've got to start to realign this thing, because there is some good, interesting dynamics that do happen here between Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel that I do think is worth exploring. And now to figure out how Miss Marvel is going to figure into that now too, now that she's got both. Sorry, spoiler, right? I want to see how that works out, and they do open the door for that later on down the line. So I do want to see where that goes. It just makes me realize that, okay, I gotta go. I have to watch Hawkeye. If you never watched Hawkeye, then some scenes may not make sense to you, right? I don't know. So let's take a look at some people who did like it. Boston Globe. In a universe where the movie, let's retake that, James. In a universe where the movies last well over 3 hours, the 105-minute runtime of the Marvels is as welcoming as it is surprising. Yeah, when movies are too long now. It was nice to have it nice and concise. I appreciated that tremendously. Anybody else? Let's take a look at all the critics' reviews here. I want to see if anybody else jumps off the page at me. Campia. I usually don't listen to him because he's got a really weird taste in movies. The strengths of the film's character chemistry, humor, and Miss Marvel overcome the multiple weaknesses of the film. Yeah, certain cringy sequences. Yes, there's definitely. I grant you that there's definitely cringy sequences in there that'll be like, why are they doing that? But there's some also really good stuff. Weak villain pacing to deliver mildly enjoyable film. I wouldn't say weak villain. I just wanted to see more of the villain. And I wanted to see that villain get stretched out more than for just one movie. Uh, I wanted to see her get stretched out for more because what she was doing. There was enough story there that would have allowed for that to happen, and we didn't get that. All right, so let's finish up my ranking here and see where I finally land on the Marvels. Cinematography and score are out of a possible 1 point each. Cinematography was serviceable for what it is, but for all the green screen stuff, I've got to knock it down to just being serviceable. The score, intergalactic. I felt like at some points a little bit like the final episode of Miss Marvel, where the score didn't really help anything. I think the score here, if it was better utilized, it would have accented the scenes a lot better. Watchability factor. Let's go into that. If you're an MCU fan, you'll want to watch it at least once. If you're a Brie Larson fan, you will want to watch it once. If you're a Miss Marvel fan, you will want to watch it. So is that a 6.5 for the Marvels for saying that something that you liked it? But I'll tell you this, the Marvels does have some rewatchability factors because, as I said, I will watch Zawe Ashton in almost anything again. Yeah. Directing. Can I give directing? Was the editing tight? Can I give it any more for directing? I think I will. 1.5 for directing. Story had some really good ideas. It did. 6.5 for the Marvels is what I'm thinking I'm landing on here, guys. I don't know if I could really stretch to give it any more. But I would watch it again, and I kind of do want to watch it with you guys when it comes out on Disney Plus. It feels very detached. You don't need to have watched Captain Marvel to figure out what's going on in this movie either. But it just helps to have all that catalog underneath your belt to understand where it's going. So, 6.5 for the Marvels. I think that's like the middle, right? That's between people who really didn't like it and people who seem to have loved it because that tomato meter score, 65 by the audience, 6.1 by critics. So I'm a little bit higher than the critics because I was a little bit more forgiving on it. But it's not the train wreck of a movie that people will have you believe. It's not the worst writing either. I've seen worse writing. So if you go in with that mentality expecting to be something terrible and you're like, well, where was the big terrible things? Yeah, that was cringy. And if you point at that one scene that is cringy and say, well, that ruined the entire movie for me, that totally took me out of it and I don't want to see anything more like that, then I don't believe you're giving this movie a fair shake, because there's some good stuff going on here. There is, and it does oddly propel the MCU universe forward. Yeah, all this stuff when they're trying to figure out when they're jumping powers, like when they use their powers to switch bodies and stuff. I thought it would be used in such a way that it would be like, well, why are they doing that? It makes sense why it's happening, and I like how they figure out how to use that to their advantage. They actually show them trying to use that to their advantage, and they use it to beat the bad guys and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of fun, man. I liked it. I thought it was. I'll watch the Marvels again. I'll definitely watch more of the Marvels over at Captain Marvel. I say now I kind of do want to watch a Captain Marvel sequel. And as far as people saying that she was dialing it in, Brie Larson, I'm not having that either. She wasn't. There was a couple of scenes in here where it's kind of like she goes and says, "Oh, I don't like to be called that name," and she said it. She says it in the same way in tone that people didn't like in Endgame, but then the story unravels to a certain point where you realize, oh yeah, here's why she doesn't like to be called that name. The story unfolds and gives you the information. So I respect that. You get that. And if you're just going to overlook like the story coming back on itself and filling in the gaps and completing its arc just because of one bad scene that you didn't like, then I didn't. I'll just say that I don't think he gave it a fair shake. Where will it land in the box office? It's going to be number 1 this weekend, but next week it runs into Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell because we are in a situation where big movies like Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon that comes out in 2 weeks, they're $200 million, just like this. People liked Killers of the Flower Moon, but it's a bomb. What's another movie recently where you liked it, but it just you didn't like it, like a movie that you didn't like, but it did well. Exorcist Believer was a terrible movie, but it's done well enough that it's a box office success. This is going to be hard to tell because of there's going to be that backlash of people going into this of, oh, I don't like Miss Marvel. Oh, I don't like Brie Larson. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like girls being in the lead role kind of thing. It's like, get out of here with that stuff. If you're like that kind of a person and that kind of mentality, oh, I don't like social commentary in my movies. And then you're going to go out and see the movie anyway just to make a video about it and rant about it online. People are, they're going to catch on to that, and they're going to realize that that's just your shtick. You complain about things, and you complain about misogyny or whatever, misandry. It gets old, man. It gets old, and I understand there's the audience there for it, but for me, asking me to trust your reviews about that, then I don't. So anyway, I would say give the Marvels a fair shake. I understand it's going to have its criticisms, but I enjoyed it. 6.5 out of 10 for the Marvels, guys. Are you going to go and see it? Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and we will talk about it. If you like this kind of stuff, hey, we do movie news stuff here throughout the week. There are my other social media handles. If you want to talk some spoilers, you want to talk about that post-credit scene, remember they dropped the final trailer, and then we're like, oh, who is this person? Who is this person? If you put your money down on it, I think I got it right. I think maybe I got it right. And that post-credit scene was kind of cool, man. It's just a mid-credit scene. All right. What else can you find here on the channel? Well, on top of my review for this, we've got reviews for Priscilla and Five Nights at Freddy's. We're watching Survivor Season 45 and Hell's Kitchen Season 22 right now up on the channel. If you like that kind of stuff, come join us for that throughout the week. We've watched the whole series of The Fall of House of Usher. And of course, then, you know, we do movie news throughout the week where we talk about all the trending movie news headlines. If you like movies, if you like talking about TV series and stuff, this is the channel for you here on Mirror Domains. I'll see you next time. Right here, Mirror Domain. All right, let's open it up and take some live comments in the live chat. All right. Arglass says the locations and internals were real. Yeah, the coastlines and everything, right? Bifer says, hey, how's it going? Okay, so I understand there's going to be retractors of the MCU that'll be like, well, I don't like the way that things are going. So they're going in with this preset, this mentality of it's gonna suck. Oh, I saw something that I don't like. It sucks. Are you gonna give the